can you hear me? I would love to know where you are today in the world. I'm going to be bringing up my co-host here, Jerry Manis. Come on up to the stage, Jerry Manis. How are you today? So, Jerry, where are you in the world today?
I am near Philadelphia.
Near Philadelphia?
I would say near Philadelphia. If I say like near Doylestown, a lot of people don't know what that is, but
yeah, Bucks County, Pennsylvania. Yeah. Very good, very good. So, Jerry, I'm super excited about today's episode 3. I can't believe how many people have RSVP'd for this episode. I don't know if you saw it was over 100 yesterday.
I saw, that's great.
I know. So I'm so glad we're doing it again, because episode 1 was amazing in January with our premiere party for the book launch. And then in episode 2, we had to do it because we had more things to say from more of our 22 authors. And we did it on St. Patrick's Day, which was really fun. And then we had to do episode 3. So we're definitely doing, everybody, episode 4 and 5. And we would love to know from you where you are today. So please do share with us in the comments on LinkedIn. Get your fingers ready. We'd love to have you light up the comments, say hello, tell us where you are, and interact with us. And feel free to ask questions and so forth as well, of our authors, of us as we're going along. So, Jerry, why do you think this is so popular?
Well, I think, first of all, movies are such a great way to learn. When you think about it, they're the ultimate case studies, and they're told by master storytellers. So they're going to be told in a way that's going to resonate. And they're also bigger than life examples of leadership under pressure. You look at almost any movie, and it shows some kind of human interaction, but exaggerated, in a way that's bigger than life. And in general, stories stick more than facts anyway. So it's a perfect way to learn. And it's a fun, like I said, it's a fun way to learn.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love movies, as to you.
Yeah. and if you're a movie buff, all the better.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, we put together, so thanks to one of our authors, Mike Schaefer, who wrote 2 chapters, because he co-wrote a chapter with Rachel, Lord of the Rings. You guys heard from them last time in episode 2. And he also wrote Raiders, the chapter based on Raiders of the Lost Ark. And he found that we could create our own IMDb playlist. So Jana, if you would drop in the chat our very own IMDb playlist so that you, everybody can get that. And I just want to share with everyone that, let's see if I can share my screen. This will be fun. Live television, right? You never know what's going to happen. Here we go. Can you see my screen? All right, cool. So this is the IMDb playlist that we curated, that has each of the movies that are in the same order as in the book. So chapter 1, Moneyball, et cetera, et cetera. So if you're into movies and you want to see all the fun movies that we have, do check out the IMDb playlist. It's free. It's available to everyone. And I'm quite sure that Jana will be dropping that in the chat if she hasn't already. So in today's lineup, we're going to be talking about some movies, some lessons from these movies, and I am super excited to do it. So, Jerry, who do we have on the horn today? Our first guest.
Our first guest is Crystal Richards. Looking forward to hearing from Crystal. She's a global keynote speaker, trained over 65,000 professionals to think and lead like project managers, and the owner of MindSpark and the author of PMP Exam Prep for Dummies. And we're honored to receive a quote from her, which is featured on the front of the book. Dawn, you want to share what Crystal had to say about it?
Absolutely. I love what she had to say. She's also very enthusiastic about this project and has been very supportive all along the way. So thanks be to Crystal and all our friends who have supported our work. Here's what she said that's in the front of the book. Every project comes with plot twists, a cast of characters, and moments that swing between Ocean's 11 levels of coordination and Top Gun levels of intensity. This book brings together 22 experts who have lived these scenes and distilled the lessons hidden in their favorite films. The result is a collection that proves art and project management mirror each other more closely than we admit. And the insights are as entertaining as they are practical. Come up onto the stage, Crystal Richards.
Hello.
Hello, how are you feeling today and where are you?
I am in the Washington, D.C. area, so excited to be here. It was pretty and sunny, and now it's kind of gloomy out, but but it is sunny now with you all, so I'm excited to be here.
Yay! Thanks so much for joining us, Crystal, and for taking the time. We know you're a very, very busy author, trainer, speaker yourself, so we really appreciate your time today. And thanks for that wonderful quote.
I think it's our next book. It's Always Sunny in Projectland.
It is. It's dramedy sometimes. So.
That's for sure. So I have a question for you, Crystal. So when I reached out to you about reviewing the book, you were in the middle of launching your own book, which we can see in your tagline here, a PMP exam prep for dummies, which was published by Wiley. So congratulations on that.
You.
So you know how hard it is to get a book out. Why were you willing to lend your voice to this one?
Oh my gosh, like anything with you, Dawn and Jerry, absolutely. Anything that I can, when I'm limited, I'm like, I can't go full throttle, but where can you place me? And it's just always great partnering with you both and the ideas that you have. And you are my muse, Dawn. You got a book out before me. And now it's, it's like, I can do it. I can do it. So I wanted to be there for you any way that I can. And it's such a great topic. Both your first book, definitely this one. We have all been there. We've been in a project situation and you're like, you can't make this stuff up. Like this should be a movie. This should be at least a TV series, right? Like Netflix though, Netflix level.
Right? It's so true. And you never know. You said dramedy. You never know what's going to happen in Projectland on a day-to-day basis. You just never know. So for you, if you were to write a chapter in the book, what would your movie and lesson be?
It would be Hidden Figures. I think that we are the unsung heroes. We're the ones in the background. And just like that movie with these, brilliant women, we're getting people out there, whether it is in space, it is, from a hospital standpoint. I just read a really great article from Philips where they were highlighting one of their project managers. She's in the background helping clinicians, fulfill the mission of patient care and innovation. And that's what we do best. And, it's taking a little bit of that humility that we may not be the rock stars on the stage, but we are rock stars at what we do and finding joy in that. Like even when you're building a building, it's not your name, but you can pass by that building and know that as the project manager, you're like, I was a part of that. And I think that's so wonderful. And Hidden Figures is such a great piece that captures that essence of us being those unsung heroes.
I agree. And there was a scene in that movie that I have a mathematics degree, as a lot of you guys know, right?
That's right.
So, in no way was at any level close to these women. But I have all the respect for it. And so I remember this one scene in the movie that really stuck with me, where the astronaut gets on the phone and says, I want to talk to the computer. And the computer is a human, is one of these women in the background who does all the math, right? And they are like, no, you don't need to talk to the computer. And he's like, oh yes, I do, and insists that he speak with her and asks her, are you sure? And she's like, yeah, 100%. I'm sure. And he's like, okay, let's do it, right? And it was like the human element, as you know, is my thing. And that for me, it blew me away.
That's a great recall of the movie. That was pretty powerful. Absolutely.
It really stuck with me. Jerry, how about you?
Oh yeah, it was such a great movie and it's a perfect movie to learn lessons from. So if we do a sequel, I think that has to be in it.
Okay, done.
100%. Yeah, I loved Hidden
Yeah.
Figures for so many reasons. And you're right, Crystal. Project managers are the unsung heroes. And a lot of times it feels like a thankless job because of that. But, you know, when you do step back from it and you look and you say, this team did this thing and it was important to the organization and we did this together, it's just such an amazing feeling, isn't it?
It is.
So tell us about what you're hard at work at out now. So the book, a PMP Exam Prep for Dummies, came out. It was a wild success. And now what are you up to?
I'm writing the second edition. Now that they've introduced the update to the PMBOK guide 8th edition, and the update to the exam is effective July 9th. I have finished up the manuscript, sent it to Wiley for review, and now we're going through the author review and editing, and that's set to release in August. So I'm looking forward to be on the book tour with you, Dawn. Like in the fall, we're gonna go at it hard. So
that sounds great. Well, good luck with that edition. I'm so glad that you got to do an updated version to go with PMBOK 8, Crystal. That's awesome news. So everybody, if you know anybody that wants to get their PMP, please check out Crystal's work and definitely her book, PMP Exam Prep for Dummies. And if they are thinking about it, what would you suggest for timing wise about getting your PMP, Crystal?
Are you talking about for this current exam?
Given the changeover and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, I would say if you have already taken a class or studied on this current content and you know how much information was piled into your head, just go ahead and say, gosh darn it, I'm gonna do it. And, you know, I have a timer on my website. I think it's like 71 days before the exam changes. That's, 2 months to get it together. I think you can do it. Look at what we've done in the past to get stuff 2 months. So consider this your own personal project. And I would say do that. Otherwise, if you think you're going to wait until after the exam, I like to tell people, give it a month after the switch so they can work out the kinks. So maybe your first go at the new exam will be around the end of July, beginning of August. So
great. Thanks for the pro tips there. And Crystal, speaking of DC,
yes,
please stay on with us while we introduce our next guest because you know this person.
Yes.
All right. Okay, here we go. So our next guest is a retired Air Force active duty veteran and a senior project manager within the intelligence community. She holds an undergraduate and 3 graduate degrees in business management, business administration, and IT informatics, and holds PMP, CSM, and ITIL certifications. She is passionate about connecting leadership lessons from pulp culture to real-world project management, as are, I think, our other 21 co-authors, building strong teams, mentoring new leaders, and finding inspiration through movies. So my meeting this guest was thanks to you, Crystal. She was at your event in DC and you invited me to sign my Meet the Players books and talk to your community. And I'm so glad that, it was an awesome event, but we got to meet this person. So Jerry, before we bring her up, did you have a few words you want to say?
Yeah, I did have one thing I wanted to add. We have a number of cases in our book where authors have had firsthand experience with some of the elements that are in the book, which is interesting. And Marie was an Air Force veteran, and which features big in Wonder Woman. We had a fighter pilot, Dave Lozinger, who did. He's not with us today. He's alive. He's not with us in the session. But he wrote a chapter on Top Gun, and I personally was a Jedi master, and I wrote a chapter on Star Wars. So there's that.
So let's bring her. Jedi Master Jerry. Absolutely. Yeah. So we have a Top Gun on the crew. He's going to be in a future episode. So hang on tight for that. But let's bring her up on stage. Marie, our very own Wonder Woman. Hey, welcome to the stage, Marie.
Thank you. Happy to be here. Hey, Crystal. Hey, Jerry. And everyone.
So, Crystal, I want to thank you once again for introducing us to Marie, who then became part of our book. Everybody, please thank Crystal.
Bye. It's a pleasure. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Crystal. It's a wrap. Thanks for being here. I really appreciate you. Bye for now. Marie, what's up? Wonder Woman.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
I'm having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course. Of course. And thanks for taking time out of your intelligence community day to be with us, which is another kind of intelligence community. But so Crystal, so we met at Crystal's event together. Yes. And I mentioned to everybody there that we were considering this book because Jerry and I were sort of testing the waters. Would anybody else think this book is a fun idea? And you said, hey, keep me in mind. Why?
Because it was wonderful. I mean, like I said, I love Crystal, and if it wasn't for her and her instruction, went through her boot camp, I wouldn't have my PMP. And I actually went through it twice, meaning when I first started, when I was transitioning from my active duty career into, the civilian world. And then just learning, like, my gosh, my whole career was doing PM stuff, as being a senior non-commissioned officer in charge of a flight, working with, our commander. So then you realize, my gosh, I've been doing PM stuff the whole time. So then, fast forward, things happen. And then when she created her own company, MindSpark, took her boot camp again to, because life happens. So it just did not work out the first time, but at least I had the basics and the fundamentals. And so now that with Agile, that's being incorporated, and then gaining some more experience, that helps. So when I got to meet you, and also I'm an avid reader, and I love learning from other mentors, and it was just exciting to be like, if I could contribute in any way I can, that would be perfect. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for answering the casting call. Absolutely. Yeah. So there's so many good parts of Wonder Woman. I mean, I just love her, and I love the whole movie. So tell us about the scene that you chose, because there were so many to choose from.
Yes, absolutely. So, well, first and foremost, she was always that character, the superhero, it's just iconic to my growing up. So that also shows my gen. But the two scenes, there's two pivotal ones that I highlight in my chapter, is the no man's land when she first comes on board. Like she's Steve Trevor's like, we can't get through it. No man has come through. And she's like, we need to get across. So I see her as obviously that project manager. She's leading the way. She's shielding the firepower. And that way her team can advance as well as the other soldiers. So that's such an iconic moment to be like, you know what, you have to step forward. You have sometimes as a PM so you have to take the hits for your team and then protect them as you advance, because it's little by little, you're facing these struggles, these obstacles, but some way, somehow you have to lead. And then the second scene was the Village of Veld scene where there's a sniper tower scene, and there's snipers taking out they're taking on enemy fire. And then her team, she's like, how am I going to get to this? So Steve and the team is like, they pick up this shield, this piece of metal where they help her, get to the sniper. And so anyway, that's such a great moment where they're working together. There is a team member that is on her team that's also supposed to be an expert shot. And he kind of freezes. He just, he stalls. And whether it's PTSD or there's just something that he just stalls, they overcome it. They have to think fast and kind of overcome that. So that's just one of the hot takes I highlight in my chapter.
Yeah. So let's talk about your hot take. So for those of you who have not read the book yet, in each of the chapters we explain the scene. The author explains the scene that they're highlighting. And the behind the scenes website we have, you can go straight to that clip, by the way, if you want to see it as well and kind of follow along in the book and make it even more fun. But we also have a hot take highlighted. So that's just, we use a lot of movie language. And Marie's hot take is leadership isn't about having all the answers or doing everything yourself. It's about empowering the team, making bold decisions, and creating the conditions for everyone to succeed. So Marie, where in your work that you can talk about, where has this shown up in your version of Projectland?
Oh my gosh. It has gone throughout, but I would say definitely in the project that I am currently working on, where it is probably one of the biggest and true forms of PM that a project that I've been leading, actually. And so there is a lot of different cross collaboration with different teams, different agencies to get this done. And so sometimes, you just have to work with the team that you have, not just, and some, will show where, it's even if there is one or some team that, there might be an error, because there's human error, right, in anything. So it's about, not focusing on the blame. It's just focusing on, okay, how can we learn from this, and address the issue, not necessarily a blame, and then just move forward. So one of the things in my chapters, I also talk about failing fast, fail often, fail fast, but fail forward. Because as PMs or just as a project, sometimes we wait till the very end to, what was that lesson again? You start documenting lessons learned, but you have to do it throughout and learn it quickly and adjust, fire, right? And then you just keep moving forward and you will eventually get to your goal.
I always say that by the end, you've forgotten what half the lessons are. And then, exactly. And if you don't use the lessons, then it's just lessons recorded. It's not lessons learned.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. I love that lesson about lessons, is to record them throughout. Definitely something that should be done more of. And it's hard when you're in the throes of, getting the project done to remember to record those lessons, but certainly very, very helpful and important. Well, thank you for sharing that. So was there another chapter in the book that resonated with you that you want to highlight?
Oh my gosh. It was, first of all, everyone did a fantastic job. And all these movies are just wonderful. I think I see most of them, but the one is like, I guess, highlight that did resonate with me. And I actually have been observing that it has, at least at this point in time, what I'm working on is chapter 2, which is V for Vendetta by Ruth Pierce, because she talks about how, as far as strategic wise, thinking about that, but also be methodical in how you're planning this out. And with those examples, it's about just to make sure that you're within scope, right? Because there's a lot of ideas that your team can bring, but you also have to have a logical way to, because sometimes coming up with the ideas is the easy part, but then how is it that it's implemented, and not to create scope creep or adding extra stuff that there wasn't asked for, right? Gold plating, right? So that's one of the things that I think those lessons that Ruth had outlined definitely resonates with me, and I keep that in mind as well. But I think everyone did a fantastic job.
I agree. Absolutely. And so speaking of that, would you like to be here with us while we get our next co-author up on the stage? All right, awesome. So our next author is the man behind the 12 Angry Men chapter, and he is an internationally recognized leader in the project management and PMO community. He's a keynote speaker, author, innovator, and the creator of the Purpose-Driven PMO and Organizational Project Delivery Journey. He's the founder and CEO of the PMO Squad, which is the #1 project management staffing and consulting firm in the US, which landed on the 2024 Inc. 5000 list. He's also host of the Project Management Office Hours radio show and podcast. So please, everyone, give a warm Projectland welcome to Joe Pusz, also known as PMO Joe. Come on up to the stage, Joe.
Not to be confused with his cousin Cotton Eye Joe.
Hey, Joe.
Hey, Joe.
Hello.
Joe, Marie, Joe. Do you guys know each other?
I don't know, Marie, but I know Wonder Woman. And how do I follow Crystal in Wonder Woman? This is bad placement for me here.
Good luck to you. Good luck to you. Marie, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Wonder Woman. Give it up for Wonder Woman, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. So, Joe, why did you respond to the author casting call, given all the things you have going on? You're such a busy man. Tell me more.
Yeah, I just love movies, right? I am a movie fanatic. And what people may not know, and I don't think, Dawn, you remembered this either, when we were together in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, there were a bunch of us piled into a car in an Uber on our way to dinner. And you and I and Fred Casagrande were squeezed together back there.
Oh, yeah. I was in the middle like this because you guys are big dudes. Yeah.
And the conversation about baseball came up. Laura Bernard was in the car, and how Laura met my college roommate. And somehow we ended up on Moneyball, a discussion about Moneyball and project management movies. And then about 6 months later, you reached out and asked if I wanted to participate in this. I said, of course I did. Yeah, absolutely.
And thank you so much for doing that. And, you know, I had never heard of your movie, 12 Angry Men. Shame on me. So thanks to you for that. Tell us why you chose that one.
Well, it's, I think, the oldest movie in the book, right?
It is.
And it's one of my all-time favorites because it was back from 1957, and they didn't have the same cinematography and art and technology that we have now. So movies had to rely on storytelling. Jerry talked about this earlier, right, with Crystal.
Yeah.
And to me, the older movies just tell their story and have a more emotional connection to it. And that's why I picked this. It was a favorite movie anyway, but the way the story is told in there, it really hits home for me. I think it's just so easy to be able to watch this and learn so many lessons during that movie.
Yeah, absolutely. And so Jerry and I watched all the movies, so in order to edit the chapters. And so I was excited about this one because I really do like classic movies. And for some reason, I forget about them. And since you had recommended, I was like, of course, I would have watched it anyway, even if it was just a recommendation from you. But we accidentally picked up the new version. And
I said to Dawn, I said, no, you have to watch the original.
Yeah, I was like, well, Tony Danza's in it. He's like, no, he's not.
No. Yes, you got to go back to 57, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so we got the 1957 version then after watching the full, like Tony Danza style with the AC unit, and compared them. Have you done this?
I not intentionally, but just having seen them both. Yeah. So
they're exactly the same almost, except in 1957 they had a fan. And in, 1998 or whenever it was, the Tony Danza version, and there are a whole bunch of other people in it, then too, that are good, but he's the one I remember most because of Taxi. They're fooling with an AC unit, but otherwise, apparently the dialogue is pretty much exactly the same. So I have to go back and watch the black and white version now that it's been a while and we have a little more time on our hands.
And there was another adaptation not too long ago, Juror Number 2, I think it's called, came out a few years ago, and that's related, similar genre, similar inspiration.
So let's do your hot take so everybody can understand what the lesson is in all this. So Joe's hot take is, when building project teams, don't jump to conclusions about your team members or their capabilities before you get to know them. So how has this shown up for you?
Yeah, just every project we work on is with people. And usually those are cross-functional in nature. You may not have worked with them directly. You may know them. So everything in life that I do, you're dealing with somebody that you may know at a level, or may not know at all. So you see them for the first time, you form an impression. You speak to them the first time, you form an impression. But you don't even know them yet. And we don't know if we're underselling, overselling. We don't really understand who the person is, what their motivations, influences, what's going on in their lives. That person who leaves early every Friday and you're angry because they get to leave, and how come you have to stay till the end of the day? You get to know them, and maybe they have a sick child at home. And now all of a sudden you understand and you have a compassion for them. So your anger turns to compassion because you just got to know them. And I think as we work within teams, the better we get to know our teammates, the better we can form and function as a team and the outputs we can do. Just remember, every status meeting, you're sitting around a table when we all used to work in the office together, and you're looking around your team. And it's kind of like the scene in 12 Angry Men when they take that first vote and they go around the table. And I said, man, I've been at that table. It just, we weren't asking guilty or not guilty. We were talking about status.
Well, sometimes we are. I mean,
different context, not a murder trial, but are we murdering the project? I guess we could say.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree. And in the movie, I just love how the main character is just asking really smart questions.
Yeah.
And I feel like in consulting, that's one of our jobs.
It's that whole leading by questioning thing. Yeah, sometimes I found myself almost, subconsciously emulating it in a meeting. I'll, like pulling a Henry Fonda and saying, "Is it possible?"
It's the power of curiosity is amazing.
Yeah.
Right. If we just try to find out what could be true, maybe we can find out what actually is true. It's a great scene in the movie where they bring out the murder knife, right? What the murder was in. And the pawn shop owner testified that this is a unique knife, the only one of its kind, and it has to be him. And they found it on the kid, so he must be guilty. Well, Henry Fonda's character walked down to a pawn shop, found the same knife, pulls it out of his pocket, slams it onto the table, and says, "Can it be possible that another knife exists like this?" And it blows away everybody in the room. That can happen to us every day on every project we're working on. We're caught with that surprise we never anticipated, we never saw. And how do we react to that? If we know who we're working with, we can react in a really positive way to make something good come out of that surprise.
Absolutely. So we heard from Marie that she wanted to give a shout out to V for Vendetta, and she's feeling a lot of that in her world. How about you? What's the shout out that you would want to give about another chapter?
Yeah, hinted at it at the beginning here is Moneyball, right? That's one of my all-time favorites. Before this book even came out, people would ask, what's my favorite project management movie? And I would say Moneyball. The last PMO that I ran at Wellstar Health System in Atlanta, I had the team. We actually took 2 days. We broke the movie up into 2 segments. We watched Moneyball together and talked about that as lessons learned out of that movie. So for me, in addition to that, it's a mother-son co-author on that chapter. So it's a little bit unique in that sense. And
sure is.
Of course, I love Laura and her son. So it's, and it kicks the book off, right? So it's a great first chapter, and it really sets the tone for everything else.
Yeah, they throw out the first pitch, Joe.
Oh, nice. Look, I teed that right up for you.
Yeah, and they're going to be on the show next month in May. So for episode 4. So we're going to get to hear from Laura and Grayson together about Moneyball. So thanks for that. I didn't even ask you to tee that up, and you did such a beautiful job.
Yeah, sometimes it works out that way, right?
So Joe, would you like to help us introduce our next guest?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Here we go. So,
by the way, I do have one thought about this movie, a bit of trivia I thought would be interesting.
Oh, yeah.
I love trivia. Yeah. The earlier parts of 12 Angry Men were filmed from a wide angle and from above to show the sort of the distance. But if you notice, as the film goes on, the camera starts moving down to eye level and then close-ups on their faces to try to exaggerate the tension and the claustrophobia, the feeling of claustrophobia. So I thought it was very interesting using camera work to try to illustrate the advancement of the tensions on a team. And it was just an interesting bit of trivia, I thought.
1957 technology, right? Compared to how they would do that today. Absolutely. That's why I love it, because you have to feel it, right? The emotion, the story.
Yeah, and the sweat in the room, introducing all the tensions. So good. Thanks, Jerry.
Sure. I digress.
Right? Well, so now I have to see definitely the 1957 version to see those camera angles, because I don't know that they did it the same way in the accidental one that I saw. Oops. Okay, here we go. Let's introduce our next guest. She is a dynamic project manager and creative strategist with over 20 years of experience across disaster recovery. I mean, these are real disasters also, Hurricane Katrina being one of them, healthcare, IT, marketing, and government. As director of creative collaboration at Corbeau and Project Success Academy, she blends imagination, strategy, and storytelling to spark bold programs and build impactful partnerships. A PMP since 2014 and a PMI ACP since 2020, she's a seasoned speaker who has delivered talks to over 40 PMI chapters on generative AI, leadership, and workplace fears. Welcome to the Projectland stage, the author of the chapter Inspired by Aliens, Tanya Boyd.
Hi, thank y'all so much for having me. And hi, Joe, you are awesome. Good to see you again.
Hey, Tanya.
Thank you, Joe, for joining us. We appreciate you. And that's a wrap for Joe. Give Joe a round of applause, please. Thank you so much for joining us and taking the time today.
My pleasure.
Have a great rest of your day. Hopefully you can stick around while we talk to Tanya. So Tanya, why did you answer the author casting call?
So several reasons. It was really interesting and it was a unique product and project. So I actually went to LSU and majored in English and journalism, had my high school where I was editor of the newspaper. So it was something that once we get into real life, it's kind of like, okay, how did I go from communications and English and journalism to project management years later? It sort of gave me an opportunity to retrace my steps back and to do something that I really loved and that I was really passionate about, and just to be creative.
Awesome. Yeah, I had seen a lot of your stuff and how you really focus on the storytelling. And so I was so excited that you answered the call. Yeah. So let's talk about aliens. So
Okay.
Jerry, I think you have a fun fact in your household about it.
Yes. This is a fact that probably nobody else here knows. It happens to be my wife's favorite movie of all time. It's also generally regarded as being one of the few sequels that's better than the original, arguably, which
Right.
I tend to agree with. And also most of the memorable lines from the movie, people, always remember the lines like, game over, man, stuff like that. They were all ad-libbed, which I thought was really interesting.
Wow.
I love the movie trivia, especially when you hear that people improvise on the scene and that it actually sticks. To me,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool when they can do that and go totally off script.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, so your lesson, Tanya's lesson for aliens, is that true leaders aren't fearless. They're forged through fire. Ellen Ripley didn't wait for permission. She took command when no one else would. So tell us more about this, your hot take, Tanya.
So I think all of us have been placed in really, really, really super uncomfortable scenarios before. And I think that we've all been on teams that have been paralyzed by fear. I mean, maybe not quite as extreme as what Ripley went through in Alien and Aliens, but we've seen indecision. We've seen what lack of decisive action leads to on projects. So it's just kind of a challenge to go, okay, we have to dig deep. Most of these issues are not insurmountable, but if we get past our imposter syndrome and we really rally the team and try to be transparent and do the right thing, then we can turn the projects and our lives in a better direction. So that was like, I'm very much a fan of the hero's journey of storytelling. I use that in my Tales from the Swamp. And then even my Thriving Through Fears, whenever I got this call, I had always thought about aliens and just Ripley to me, like growing up, I guess the only closest to Ripley in my mind would be Sarah Connor on Terminator and Terminator 2.
Right.
Just that strong woman, that heroine that is outside of the Friday the 13th final girls, but just placed in scary circumstances that just really powers up and leans into their skill sets and their ingenuity. So I loved her character. And when I worked in disaster recovery, that was such a dynamic project. That was really my first rodeo in it. And the only reason that project existed was because of a terrible incident where people lost lives, lost properties. So we were on the front lines of helping people, maybe not right immediately after it. It was more helping them get the federal funds after the disaster to rebuild their property and rejuvenate the economic development in the areas affected. So, of course, when you're dealing with people that have lost property, that have lost lives, and you layer government bureaucracy and federal red tape on all of that, it leads to a lot of really, really, really uncomfortable conversations. So just learning empathy and learning, okay, I'm scared. This person's yelling at me. We're on the news. This is not great. But how do I walk this person through their fears to get them to the next side?
Awesome. Yeah. And I just reviewed your chapter again in preparation for this. And I love how you talk about how you too had to have the courage to face the people who you worked with through 3 different contracts. You're always wondering, do I have a job the next day? And you had to face your fears, to talk to them about their own bureaucracy and how they needed to make it easier for people to get what they needed.
It was just tough because it was stuff like, and just thinking through this and some of the complexities when people are rebuilding, and you're talking to people in an affected area and having to explain what exactly universal design is, that it's not just rebuilding the door width to a certain, width, but it's, if someone is in a wheelchair, the knobs on the stove have to be on the front splash, so they can go up to it. And then even stuff like green building standards, because unfortunately, as much money as the program got, billions of dollars, there still wasn't enough money to meet the actual need of the disaster. So we had to come up with some sort of a prioritization system to categorize who gets the money.
Wow.
And some of those things were really, really tough to explain to people what stronger hazard mitigation meant.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be stuff like raise your washer and dryer up by a foot. So if there's another flood, it doesn't short out, but it was even, some of it's comical, but sad, but people would say, okay, I put duct tape on my windows. And I was like, no, that's not exactly what we were referring to when we said stronger hazard mitigation measures, but I get what you're coming from,
Right.
But
Well,
Tanya, some of what you're talking about in terms of moving forward in the face of fear and despite adversity, some of it echoes also what Marie was saying about, with Wonder Woman is cut out all the noise and just focus on what's here now, what has to be done. And
right.
I think it's an important lesson.
Yeah. It is. And it's harder nowadays, even with AI and all the learning curves that we've got. I think a lot of us just have a very different level of fear these days with the acceleration of change and being left behind. And I'll have to remind myself many days going, you're good enough. You're exactly where you need to be and you're exhausted. So you need to stage these certain things, do this, and be an adult and give yourself the opportunity to rest and come back stronger the next day.
That's such a great lesson for so many of us that are trying to do so many things. And I needed that today too, Tanya. So thank you for that.
I think we all do every day.
Right? I agree. So is there another chapter that resonated with you?
I really like The Martian, and I haven't seen the movie, so I need to, but just even reading through that and thinking through the circumstances and just the way that James explained that in his chapter, how he just broke things down incrementally. And that's so important because I think all of us, even if we're project managers, we know we need the perfect work breakdown structure and all these different things, but it's our human nature to charge at everything all at the same time. And we just have to remember, okay, it's not going to work like this. You're going to overwhelm yourself.
Mhm.
So just take a step back, breathe, move forward bit by bit, and then you realize at some point you've just climbed a mountain. And it's surprising when you stage things like that and just actually give yourselves the break. I run at a fast pace, but I have to remember my boundaries too and say no to things sometimes just so I can protect where I'm at with full-time jobs, speaking, all the other opportunities, and figuring out, well, how do I layer all of this and save space for me, for my family, for my friends, and not just go hide in a corner and sleep.
Well, that's a great reminder, Tanya. Thank you. And thank you for answering the author casting call and being here today. Would you like to help us introduce our final guest for today?
Absolutely.
All right, great. All right, so our next guest began his career over 40 years ago during the dawn of mobile technology. In fact, his first cell phone was cell number 42 in the San Francisco Bay Area. He delivered results for companies specializing in hardware, software, and semiconductors, with notable tenures at industry giants like HP, McAfee, and more. Beginning his career in marketing, John strategically transitioned into procurement, where he demonstrated exceptional leadership managing massive budgets. We're talking airline and hotel expenditures exceeding $50 million, for example. His expertise extends beyond corporate excellence into civic leadership, having been actively involved in city leadership groups and local government for the past 3 decades. Please join me in welcoming to the stage our negotiation expert, John. Hey, John.
Hey, John.
Are you coming to us from the left coast today? Oh, look, he has his book. Oh, so nice.
I thought Dawn was going to say cell number 42 from Alcatraz for a minute.
John, Tanya, do you guys know each other?
We're connected on LinkedIn, but we've never had the opportunity to talk or connect off sides, which we need to do in the future too.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Nice to see you, Tanya.
Nice to see you as well. So Dawn, Jerry, and everybody joining, thank you so much.
Thank you, Tanya. Have a great rest of the day. Our very own Ripley, Tanya Boyd. Thank you, Tanya. All right, John, you get our final word for today.
Wow, that's an honor.
It is, but you've earned it over 40 years. And cell number 42, not cell block, but cell phone number 42.
I still have that number.
Do you really? That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So John's chapter, everyone, is called Mastering the Art of Negotiation. Lessons in Adapting, Listening, and Leverage. So, John, why did you respond to our author casting call?
So I have to back up the truck a little bit on that to give you a little explanation. I met Dawn about 20 years ago, and we stayed in touch as professionals, emailing and back and forth. And through one of our conversations, I always asked her, I'd really like to write a book. And I have these 2 or 3 different topics that I'd like to do. You want to co-author with me? And she goes, well, I'm pretty busy. I don't really have time for it, so forth and so on. At any rate, she was working on her first book shortly after that and invited me to do editing work with a team of people, which I graciously did that with them. I enjoyed doing that. At any rate, from that point, then the second book was coming along with Jerry, and I was invited to do that. And with that book, I wanted to do the movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Okay, there have to be some other Ferris fans. So if you're a Ferris fan, drop Ferris in the comments right now. I sure am too.
Absolutely.
That's your favorite, right?
It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I mean, there's nobody better than Ferris Bueller to get away with all the stuff and all the things going on. However, Dawn wanted me to do something on the topic that I have a lot of expertise in, which was negotiation. And we were talking about, well, where can we find a good movie that has good negotiation? So that's when we sort of together found this movie Cash Out, starring John Travolta and Kristen Davis,
From
And
Sex and the City. She played
yes,
Charlotte,
yes,
if
she
anybody's
did.
a Sex and the
Yes,
City
pretty
fan.
famous. And it's not a well-known movie from the standpoint of it's on Hulu now, and there's even a sequel on it. But if you get a chance to watch it, it's a very entertaining heist movie. And actually, John Travolta does very well on it, very well. At
Yeah,
any rate,
I agree.
that was kind of how I got to it. Sorry.
So that cell phone, that's just so you know, he really still has
That's cell number 42 right
It's
there.
working. It's working.
still works.
With spam, right?
My good
Okay.
friend Spam calls me a lot too.
So anyway, so I got to do that, and I was really happy that I got invited to do it, and it was quite the lesson of how to. I mean, it's a chapter in a book; it's not the whole book, but I was quite kind of honored to be in the book, and I think it's a good chapter. I think the lesson is a good lesson, and I enjoyed doing it, and I enjoyed working with the team to do so.
Well, thanks for doing it, John, because when Jerry and I were creating our master list of topics that we were hoping for in the book, negotiating was one of those skills that we feel like project managers have to do all the time and project people have to do all the time. And we don't get formally trained in it, but it's something that we need all the time. So Jerry,
Yeah, I was going to say, a lot of people, they hear negotiation in project management, and they think, oh, it means, negotiating with vendors. That's one part of it, but I think all of project management is negotiation to some aspect. You're negotiating with stakeholders, with team members, with other project managers for resources.
Yeah, actually, Jerry, it's even bigger than that. Negotiation goes on with everything we do.
Yeah, right.
In life, I mean, with your spouse, with your family, with going to the grocery store, whatever. There is a form of it.
Absolutely.
And that's part of the reason. So, I mean, keeping in touch for 20 years, I knew about some of the big deals that you had to negotiate as your job. But you're married, you have 2 adult daughters you've raised. There had to be a lot of negotiating in the household as well.
Always, yes.
I mean, it certainly comes in handy. And so in the chapter, one of the things we try to do is we do bios at the end of the chapter for each of the co-authors so that you can get to know who you're hearing from. And our tagline at the end for John says that your wife is impatiently awaiting grandchildren now that you've married off both of your daughters. Is there any update there?
There is an update. My oldest daughter is now pregnant, due in August. So,
wow.
Yay, we're happy to have a grandchild on the way.
So is she still impatient about it, or is she chilled out?
She's pretty impatient. She's out there shopping for baby strollers and all of the things that are needed. And I have to give up my office in the house so we can do that, and I'm not going to do that. So,
oh man, see, negotiating. You
got
to
negotiation.
Absolutely, all kinds of things. So yeah, it's exciting news.
So you're going to be a granddad, and she's going to get her wish. And I feel like we had part of that in our book, teeing that up.
We did. We appreciate that. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, sometimes movies imitate art and art imitate movies and life, right? So here it is. So thanks, John, for the updating on that. Hey, so your movie is one of the newest movies in the book. We have only one newer, which was 2025. So yours is a 2024 movie, Cash Out. And so why does it offer good lessons in negotiating?
Well, to be honest with you, negotiations, are we going to talk about the hot take at this moment?
We sure can. Yeah. So okay. John's hot take, I'll share that with everybody now. Okay. Negotiations are often the key to keeping a project on the rails and assuring stakeholder satisfaction. And the key to negotiation is leverage. That is to say, what one party wants and what another party is willing to give.
So in that lesson, there are 7 key points in negotiation that are highlighted in the book. Okay, so you should kind of take a look at those points of the negotiation. However, the key to that, as mentioned in the hot take, is leverage. And when we want something and somebody else wants something, that's what a negotiation is all about. It's about two parties or multiple parties, it could be, that want something from one another. If they want something, somebody has to have something more than the other. That's the leverage. The more leverage one has, the more applicable it can be in the negotiation, where you can get more things out of it, or more terms out of it, or more, time, or whatever it is that you're trying to, finalize, whether you're, negotiating a peace process in the world, or whether you're buying a quart of milk. I mean, everything is all about those pieces of leverage. Do you have money, and so forth and so on.
Or
So you have to
negotiating for space in your own home with your wife.
or whatever. Yeah. So you have to think about all of those perspectives as you do that. And you have to think about the other person's perspective, or other party, I should say. Sometimes it's a group, right? Especially in a project management, there's groups of people and different people, which is identified in some of the different chapters here as well.
Yeah.
So I do feel like, you have to sort of understand. I think that's the best answer to that. Understand the leverage that you have, and understand the leverage the other party has. So
Right.
That's what it's about.
Right. Yeah. And I loved how in your chapter you went through the 7 points of negotiation, and you talk about in the movie how there are highlights in the movie for every single one of those points. And then you give us a case study from real life, and also an example case study that we could totally relate to. So it was a brilliant chapter, John. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're
And
welcome.
this was the one of only 2 movies in the book that I haven't seen, or that I hadn't seen, and the other one wasn't released yet, so there was a reason for that. But this is actually a really good movie. I enjoyed it.
It
was
an excellent movie.
Yeah.
Very underrated. Very underrated. And
Yeah, it went under the radar.
it went under the radar. And frankly, the year later, they did a sequel with the same characters, which I found very interesting.
That's
They
very
did something like that. So it is worthy of watching the movie, and especially if you like heist movies.
Yeah.
Heist movies. It is a true heist movie, and there are others in this book. In Projectland book, there are other heist movies to watch, including the one Dawn wrote.
The Italian Job. Yep. And they're all different. What I love about that is we might have a couple heist movies in the book, but they're all very different. They have different twists. Ocean's 11, Cash Out, and The Italian Job, if you're into heist movies, are on our IMDb list. So Jana, if you can stick that IMDb list in there again so people can find our movies that we're talking about, that would be awesome. So John, is there another, really quickly, because we're running out of time, but I know you want to shout out one of our other chapters.
Absolutely. So the other book, the other chapter that, I was pleased about that it was in there was the book, the movie Apollo 13. And that was written by Mike Clayton. And I actually had a chance to interface with Mike Clayton, in a Zoom meeting that we had. He's across the pond in the UK, and quite knowledgeable on the topic of negotiation. Actually wrote a book on negotiation. So we had exchanged some thoughts, and it was good to meet him. Now that movie, I will highlight. By the way, I'm using Mike has a bunch of YouTube videos on different topics, and I'm using a couple of his videos in my college business class that I'm teaching at the moment. So I was able to, pull some ideas from his into my class. But at any rate, I got a chance. The movie Apollo 13, actually, I read the book before the movie. And the book that came out, I actually got a chance to see Jim Lovell speak. He was introducing his book, which was called Lost Moon. Not too many people knew that.
That was Tom Hanks' character, right, in the movie? Jim Lovell.
That was Tom Hanks' character, correct?
Okay.
Jim Lovell was the captain of the ship, and Jim Lovell's message to his speaking audience was, this whole affair of what happened in Apollo 13 could not have happened without intense teamwork. And with every project, with everything that goes on, we have to depend on teams. And if we don't have teams doing things together, there's no me in the whole project. Think about even in that movie, well, in the real story, they had to figure out how to breathe with, duct tape and I don't know, socks.
Yeah.
They had to put the thing together. And they had to have guys figuring all that out on the ground to tell them what to do because they had no idea. They'd never experienced anything like that. So that was teamwork. And that's what his message was. At any rate, I was honored to get that book. I was honored to listen to him speak. And then, subsequently the movie came out later. So I was attracted to it. So it always resonated with me, that particular movie. And, I appreciated Mike writing that book.
Yeah, he did a great job.
Yeah,
he did a great job with Apollo 13. And he was on episode 1. He was in our premiere party episode, which is still available on LinkedIn if you missed it, to hear straight from Dr. Mike Clayton about his chapter on Apollo 13. So, and this certainly was a lot of teamwork to make this book happen. And so I just want to, in closing, thank you, John, for being here today. Really appreciate it.
Gary, and thank you, Dawn.
Absolutely. So we're
going to know when the third one's coming out. I'm ready.
Oh man, I don't know if I can handle a third one. We're going to have to do it completely different. Anyway, John, thank you. John from the left coast. Let's give it up for John. And
Project Man watches TV.
Right. So everyone, thank you so much for being here today. We have a couple fun messages for you. So stick around for the next moment, please. If you missed episodes 1 and 2, they are available on LinkedIn. And remember, if you're a PMP, you earn PDUs for joining us today, for watching previous episodes 1 and 2. They're also available on YouTube. If you're more of a YouTuber, you can go on there to our YouTube channel, which is PMOtraining. So go on there, look for the tiger, and you can check out introductions from many of our courageous authors as well. They have little 1-minute introductions of their lesson, their movie in our Projectland Goes to the Movies playlist on YouTube. And also, don't forget to track your time reading the book, because if you are looking for PDUs, you can read the book and get even more PDUs for reading the book. So, and Janet, if you could drop the link in the chat for where to get the book in case people are looking for that, just to make it easy for them. Also, we have episode 4 coming up next time. If you'd like to join us again, please RSVP now for episode 4 so you don't miss it. It's going to be on May 21st, and Joe teed it up. We've got Grayson and Laura Bernard joining us for Moneyball, so mother-son team. That's going to be a lot of fun. We have Mike Hannon as well, a 35-year expert in the industry. We're going to have a whole lot of fun next time. I'm talking about more movies, more lessons, and if you're a PMP, you can earn PDUs for joining us. So please RSVP for that. Now, thank you for joining us for episode 3. Crystal Richards, our special guest, co-authors Marie, PMO Joe, Tanya, John, Jerry, thank you for co-hosting again with me today.
Sure, it's fun. And we also have an audiobook coming out too, so you'll be able to listen and earn PDUs.
Jerry, the audiobook is so good. It's turning out so good. I love this guy's voice.
That's great.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Even does the characters.
Yeah. Wait till you hear it, everybody. It's going to be incredible. So stay tuned for more news on the audiobook coming out soon. I'm glad you mentioned it, Jerry. Thank you. And we hope you're inspired to make your next project a blockbuster hit too. Bye for now, everyone. Signing off from Projectland. Boom, boom. Thanks. Bye.